is Cody, and this is Suspend Disbelief, the show where we talk about the paranormal, the taboo, and otherwise mysterious occurrences in our universe. Welcome back. Tonight, we invite you to put on your brown pants and suspend disbelief as we dive into the harrowing cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So tonight, I have some guests you guys are familiar with.
Kate.
Talking to the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
What's your name?
Kate.
Okay.
Cody.
Doc. Cody.
All right. Well, we made it, guys. Welcome back. We're here. We're doing a podcast. How do you guys feel?
Good.
Energized.
Oh yeah. We're feeling pretty good. It's been a while since we've been on. We're here. We're excited to tell some stories. And tonight we decided to last minute do an episode on the Warrens. There's a whole lot of spooky stuff out there about them. And we decided to do a little deep dive. So each of us have prepared some stories that we're going to talk about in tonight's episode. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm definitely excited. So it's going to be fun. All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. Before we dive into our stories, we're just going to catch up a little bit. How have you guys been?
Good. Been working together on various projects.
Yep.
Traveled recently to New Mexico to the Native American Indigenous fashion show with my lovely wife.
Tell us about it.
Arts Festival too. Oh, it was really cool that I don't know if they say it's SWEIA or SWEIA. They had a fashion show and it was cool. We wanted to go. It was the first time and saw some Cree natives show off their artwork there, so I like that part.
And those are your people, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Right on.
There were some Kiowas there too.
Hey, all right. So some Kiowas out there representing, huh?
It's pretty large. And Santa Fe, it's pretty cultural up there.
Oh, I love Santa Fe. I mean, I've only been up there a couple times, but
I loved it.
last time I went up there, we did the whole Meow Wolf thing, and it was freaking amazing. I can't wait to go back. Although that was like 6 years ago, and I still haven't been back. But I would love to go. I'd freaking love to go.
Maybe next year. They're having the last Gathering of Nations.
Oh,
I don't know if it's there though. Actually,
I think it is. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're having the last ever Gathering of Nations.
The world's largest powwow.
why is it ending? Do you know?
It's just like not convenient. I guess it's not working out for them to organize it anymore. So.
Yeah. So they're just.
It's sad.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time. I forget exactly how long. I want to say
50 years.
50 years. Yeah.
God dang.
Yeah, I've never been to it, but suddenly I really want to go next year.
Could be
Yeah.
historical.
Be there for the last one. That's
Yeah.
sad. I mean, I wonder who's going to take its place, or if there's going to be like someone taking its mantle or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer. But the fashion show was good. You guys drove up to Santa Fe. You guys had fun doing that. That's cool. You guys went up there and represented.
Yep.
Another thing we've been doing recently, and you guys might have heard me talk about it on the Riker Six Killer episode, is that we are making a horror short film. Us right here. We're very excited about it. It's called Crooked Face, and it is it's inspired by indigenous superstitions, folk tales. Kate is our lead actress here, and Orrin and I both play a small part in it as well because we like to do cameos in our own stuff because we're insufferable like that. And we brought together a really cool team of really talented people to come help us make it, and the footage that we've done so far has looked freaking amazing. And so we're hoping that October 2025 is probably going to be put online, unless for some reason we decide just to save it and sit on it for some festival premieres or something like that. But more than likely, we're probably just going to put it on YouTube for everybody to see, and you guys will be able to enjoy it then. But yeah, we're very excited. My inspirations for the story and for the visuals were inspired by the movie Smile. I think that the whole vibe of it, I really kind of when I make a horror short film, I usually have one film in mind that I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm thinking, this is what I want, and Smile was the one that I clung on to most for this one, and I think it's going to be pretty good. I think you guys are going to really like it. So just make sure you're wearing your brown pants when you watch it, because you're gonna poop your pants. That's how good it is. And Kate's really good. She cries on camera on command. I'm like, dang, that's impressive.
I've cried a lot in my life, so
She
it's
just
too hard.
yeah, she just pulled it right out. And I was like, dang, okay, we got an actor here. So, but yeah, so that was freaking very exciting. It's gonna be really cool. So stay tuned for that. And also stay tuned for some good listener stories that we have at the end of this episode. We're gonna try to do this every episode where we talk about our topics, whatever that topic may be, and then at the end we just tell some listener stories, because you guys have some great stories and some very spooky stuff, and we want to tell them on the podcast. So if you guys do want some stories featured on the show, send me an email at skullcrawlerfilms@gmail.com. Send us a DM on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and we'll feature your story on the show and give you credit if you want, or anonymously if you'd rather have that. So, anywho, sweet. Anything else going on with you guys before we dive into the spooky topics?
I was wondering if you want your gift that we brought you from Santa
Oh,
Fe.
snap. They got me a gift? Sure. I'll take it. What is it?
It's on his side. Excuse our
spam bag. Indians. Yeah. They got me a gift. Oh my goodness. All right, let's take a look. What we got here? Uncle Rez ride fixing Indy cars in '78. God, this is accurate because I do all my own work on my car and it's never running right. So
Door handle don't work.
oh yeah, no, it doesn't. Yeah, there's always something going on with it.
I got locked in his car trying to get out.
That is true. Yeah, we filmed a scene in my car the other night, and she's like, "Why doesn't the door handle work?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that it broke. It didn't work. You got to reach out and open the door." Oh man. Well, before we dive into our stories, just for a couple minutes, I'll talk about what I've been up to. Been working a whole lot. I also have a book with a short story featured in it. This one's different than the last one I talked about. No, it's the same one I think I talked about in the one with Chief Sweet. Secrets of Forsaken. I have a horror short story in here called Dead Hed, and it is about a truck driver who has a run-in with a spirit. And the spirit is none other than our dear woman. So it's really cool. It's about 5,000 words. It's super short. Take you 20 minutes to read it. I'm really proud of this, and this is something I want to keep doing, is writing horror short stories. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm working on getting an online shop running for the book. If you want a book, send me an email, send me a DM. We can do a whole Cash App, Venmo thing, and then I'll send one out to you. Anyway, the book is called Secrets of the Forsaken. It is an anthology horror short book that features folk tale horror short stories from all around the world. It's pretty cool to be a part of something like this. I mean, being published is kind of a big deal. I mean, kind of a big deal, but it's pretty cool. So if you guys are into something like that, man, this is something I want to keep doing, and I would love to have my own anthology horror short book at some point, maybe next year if all my cards are played right. And especially if you guys buy some books, then it'll definitely happen. So that would be cool. And if you guys like spooky short stories, if you guys like fiction involving indigenous creatures like deer woman, little people, Bigfoot, stuff like that, then this is going to be right up your alley. So, anywho,
That's super cool.
yeah.
I love like short anthologies of stories and stuff.
Oh yeah. Have you had a chance to read Shane Hawk's Whistle at Night? Don't Whistle at Night, or whatever it's called?
I did start reading it. I
Yeah.
read the first story, and it was really
It was spooky.
loud with him in the car.
Yeah, there's some good stories. Yeah, that one's a good one, and it's been on the indie bestseller list for like freaking 2 years now, which is impressive.
Wow.
So,
wow. Next year, that's your book.
Exactly. I'm coming for you, Shane Hawk. I'm coming. Cool. Well, anyway, I guess now that we've talked about life and stuff like that, we can dive into our stories. Who wants to go first?
I was
Anyway.
thinking you go first.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
Kate.
Sweet. Okay, so we are veering away from our indigenous roots tonight, and we are diving into supernatural cases of the Warrens. You may know them from the Conjuring films. Ed and Lorraine Warren, they are very real people. They are a clairvoyant couple, I guess you could say. Ed is a ordained minister and an exorcist, and his wife, Lorraine, is a clairvoyant medium. And they have said to have worked on over 10,000 um, demonic cases over the course of their career, which is a fascinating number. And it's a fascinating amount of, I don't know, supernatural things that they've had to deal with. We'll dive into all the controversies and stuff behind them later. But for now, we're just going to tell some stories about the Warrens and some of the things that they worked on. And so my story that I've prepared is about the Amityville Horror House. And I'm very excited because it's a movie that I watched when I was a kid, and it freaking scared the crap out of me.
The most famous case, right?
The most famous haunted house case in the world. So it was on a night just like tonight. George Lutz was outside of his house one night. He's chopping wood for his home because for some reason he just couldn't keep it warm enough in the winter. And he's outside and he's chopping wood, and he looks up into his daughter's room, and he sees his daughter looking out the window at him. And it's kind of late at night. She should have been asleep. And behind her, he could see the outline, the figure of somebody with the face of a pig behind her with glowing eyes. And so he runs inside, he goes upstairs, and of course, his daughter, she's fast asleep as she should be. So whatever he saw in that room that night was gone, whatever it was. And this is one of the many, many supernatural things that have happened in this house from the Lutz family and the so-called Amityville Horror House in 1974. Before this family moved in, 13 months, in fact, before this family moved in, there was a tragic case of murder that happened in this house. I'm not sure if you guys are too familiar with this case, but Ronald DeFeo Jr., who was a young 20-somethings at the time, was living with his family, and he has said that demons told him, or the voices in his head told him, to kill his family. So he took a shotgun in the middle of the night, specifically at 3:15 a.m., and went upstairs into each of their rooms and put a bullet through everybody's chest as they were sleeping. So he went to room, little sister, little brother, little sister, little brother, then to his parents, and shot them dead as they slept. A couple strange things about this is that nobody woke up. There was no signs of any struggle, and everybody was sleeping on their stomach when it happened as well, which is also very eerie because the autopsy reports came back and it was said that nobody was moved. Everybody was naturally in these positions when they were sleeping, when they died. And the fact that nobody woke up to the gunshots is pretty fascinating. It's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty horrifying to even think that like you could hear somebody getting shot in the next room and you're just laying there, but like everybody slept right through it. And that's one of the most horrifying things I could think about. And also it's very strange. And also no neighbors heard any gunshots. That same night, Ronald DeFeo Jr. ran to the local pub and he told everybody, like, hey, my parents have been murdered. And so he got a team of people to follow him back to his house. And that's when everybody found all the bodies of everybody. And it wasn't long before he confessed that he was the one that did it and that the voices in his head told him to do it. So 13 months later, the Lutz family are looking for a house. And they're meeting with a real estate agent. The real estate agent's like, I've got this beautiful, quaint Dutch colonial home on the other side of town. It's lakeside. It's got a heated pool. It's got a boathouse. It's got 6 bedrooms. It's got everything you'll need to raise this family. And then they go, they look at it. It's beautiful. Kathy Lutz, the wife, Ms. Lutz, she looks and she's like, this is everything I've ever wanted. We have to move in here. And the lady's like, well, you're in luck because it's on sale. And they're like, why is it so cheap? And so the real estate agent, she's like, I got to get real with you. Some people got murdered here last year.
Ooh.
And that's why it's so cheap. It's why it's on the market. And so the Lutz family, they look at each other and they're like, is this something that, you feel comfortable with? And of course, they're like, houses don't hold memories. We'll take it. It's beautiful. It's perfect. We'll live there. We'll live a perfectly happy life. And they move into this house. It is a beautiful house, honestly. I was looking at pictures and I was like, I'd probably buy that house.
Yeah.
Even though it's haunted, like, would you knowingly?
I honestly would have that conversation with my wife and be like, do you think it's really that haunted? Because like it's cheap, it's it's off the lake, it's got everything we need, it's got a heated pool, it's got rooms for everybody.
I know
So-
we talked about that because we got our house this year, and
Yeah.
we were like, would we get a house if it was haunted? And I said yeah. I said yeah. I was just
See, this is the problem with the movie and whatever. It's everyone's like, oh, if it was haunted, or if somebody got murdered, I would never move into that house. But if you're presented with the opportunity, if you've been house hunting forever and you're just waiting for that perfect house and it's right in front of you and it's in your price range, you're like, I'll do anything to get out of that house. And then they're like, it's haunted. And you're like, shoot, we'll be fine, right? And then you move into the house. So over the course of 4 weeks, less than a month, the Lutzes lived in this house, and an unbelievable amount of supernatural things happened to this house. Before, one day, they just get everybody out of bed in the middle of the night, and they hop into their station wagon and drive off to never come back to the house ever again. So some of the hauntings that had happened were, of course, the daughter. I don't remember her name, but she said, I have a new friend. She have an imaginary friend. And so she's talking to this, imaginary friend in the house. And she's telling her mom, she's like, do you believe in angels? And mom's like, yeah, I believe in angels. She's like, well, there's one that lives here at the house. And she says that she's going to be here forever and ever with us. And the mom's like, what? She's like, well, what does this angel look like? She says, well, she has a pig face.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this pig angel lady, this imaginary friend's name is Lucy. So we'll go with Lucy for now. And this is not the first time that they have the experience with Lucy. So some generic haunted house things start happening. Furniture is moving around by itself, and they come into the room, and like the rug is rolled up and pushed to the back of the house, and they're like, "That's strange." And then they hear like footsteps in the house at night. Generic haunted house things, like I said. It keeps getting more weird. The day that they move in, and this was just something that people do. Like I'm sure maybe when you guys moved into your house, maybe you had your dad come and bless the house. They had a priest come and bless the house. And maybe they were just trying to check all the boxes. Like, hey, just in case it is haunted, maybe we'll just have a priest come and check out the house. And so the priest comes into the house, and he's got this holy water. And he's doing this thing. He goes into this room upstairs. And he walks in and he's like, oof, there's something about this room. And he starts getting a physical illnesses, starts getting flu-like symptoms. And he's like, guys, there's something about that room. Don't stay in that room. And that was the room that Ronald LeFeo Jr. lived in at the time, who was, of course, the man that killed his whole family. That is also the room that over the course of the month, flies would just start popping up out of nowhere. And then every single day there'd be more flies and then more flies until there were thousands of flies that just consumed this room at all times. And so the sons would go in there and they'd start smacking all the flies and they start killing them. But there was still too much and they didn't know what to do. So they just block off the room. They just decided, we're not going to sleep in this room. We're not going to live in this. Yeah, we're just going to leave this one alone. So that's one of the things that happened. And another thing is the house would go suddenly from feeling like a normal temperature to being like ice cold in the middle of nowhere, which of course is a generic haunted house trope. But George became so obsessed, George being the dad, who's actually the stepdad. He's a former Marine,
Hoorah.
and he, well, he was a Marine, and he was not the actual parent to any of these kids. He was a stepdad, and so he didn't know how to be a parent. But he got so obsessed with keeping this house warm that he was always outside chopping wood. And if you've seen the movie, that's something that he just obsesses about, is chopping wood, and nobody can talk to him. And that is honestly the most accurate part of the movie, is that he was inconsolable. He would not be bothered. He was just absolutely obsessed with keeping wood in this wood fireplace to kind of try to keep the house warm. And he would just sit in front of it, and he would just keep a blanket on him, just like, it's too cold in here. It's too cold in here. And one night, the family's in the living room, the TV's on, he's putting wood on the fire, and everybody's like, "Hey, you see that?" And they look out the window, and then they see what looks like a person standing in the window. And they're like, "Did you see that? Her eyes were glowing, and she kind of had a pig face." And so George runs outside. He's got his axe, and he doesn't see anybody out there. But he inspects for footprints, and what he finds are cloven hoof footprints from what looks like a pig or some type of maybe goat creature, something like that. Something demonic, maybe. So all of these things happen. Another thing that happens is the son Daniel, he's upstairs, he's playing in the window, and out of nowhere, one of the wooden windows just smashes on his fingers with what seems like an unbelievable amount of weight holding his hand inside the window. And so George and Kathy, they're trying to get the window. Of course, it's stuck. It's not budging. His fingers get smashed. They finally get his hand out, and they're running downstairs to go to the hospital. And his hand is completely smashed. And by the time they get downstairs, he's like, "I think I'm fine." And his hand's seemingly healed super fast. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Very strange. Also, they had a dog. They had a black lab, and there was a basement, and there was an extra room in the basement that was not in the floor plans of whole house, and it was inside like one of the pantries down there, or something like that. And they called it the red room. And the red room to them has such a dark feeling that they couldn't even go into that room, and the black lab refused to even go down into the basement because of that room. This is when things start kind of getting a little out of control. Of course, as the weeks go by, the hauntings start getting worse and worse. One night, George is laying in bed, and he hears the whole house start to rattle, and he hears the sons in the room next to them start screaming because all the beds were shaking. Like straight up, there's an earthquake, but there's not an earthquake. And then as he's sleeping, he apparently develops sleep paralysis and can't get up, but he can open his eyes. His wife, Kathy, starts raising up, floating out of her bed, floats over him. Her face changes to what looks like that of an old woman's face, like not her face, but like a very old woman's face floating over him. And he has to snap out of this sleep paralysis and pull her down, back down into bed. I'm not even sure if she remembers this at all, but he quoted that it took her like 5 hours to actually her face to switch back to normal, but it was like stuck as this old lady's face, which is incredibly haunting.
Yeah.
So over this 4 weeks in the winter, these unbelievably insane things start happening to them in this haunted house in upstate New York. And in the middle of the night, the final night, they load the whole family up into the car, and they up and drive away, and they never return back to that house. So that is most of the story of what happened to George and Kathy Lutz and the Lutz family in their house in Amityville. So their story starts going pretty famous, pretty viral, as we'd say now. Like they did a couple talk shows, they did a couple interviews, and then after a course of a couple months, the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, find out about this family, and they're like, "Well, we are experts in the subject of demonology. We would like to come and investigate the house." And so they investigate the house, and they try to get George Lutz to come back to the house, and he's like, "I'm never getting close to that house again." And so the closest he would get is just a restaurant down the street from the house. He wouldn't even go any closer than that. And so he tells them everything. This is all the stuff that happened. Ed and Lorraine Warren, they go in with their whole team. They investigate the house. They have cameras, they've got audio equipment, and they've got crosses and holy water and stuff like that. And so as soon as they enter the house, they start feeling things. And even George, who was not, he was not clairvoyant in the least. I said George, sorry. Ed, who's not clairvoyant in the least, feels this immense darkness in this house that he can't even shake. And Lorraine walks in the house, and she's got like she just feels this deep, deep I don't know, this tragedy that happened in this house. And she goes into the rooms, and she visibly can see the bodies of these children laying in their beds. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that um, the DeFeo family just they left all the furniture in that house, and
Oh.
the Lutz family, they're like, "Oh, it comes furnished, yeah." And so they buy the whole house with the
Yeah.
furniture in it. Of course, the mattresses aren't there, but everything else is still there. And so when Lorraine Warren goes into these houses, she can see these children, these parents laying on the bed on their stomachs as they were when it happened, um, in her mind's eye through these visions that she has. And then she goes down to the basement near the red room, and then she feels this immense darkness, and then she can smell what smells like rotting flesh in the basement. And so they investigate it. And one thing that they did is they brought in a team, and then they didn't have like video cameras like we do now, where they can just set it up and let it roll, all day long. But they had a camera that was set on a timer, and they put it in different rooms of the house. And so this one specific camera that they had in the upstairs that kind of looks at the doorways and stuff like that, it would go off every 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then you would just see like somebody there investigating, whatever, somebody in their team. And out of these like dozens of pictures that they have, in the corner of one of these pictures, you could see what looks like a little kid looking at the camera with glowing eyes. Of course, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I will put up that picture now. Just giving you a warning, it's pretty disturbing. And if you're a listener, go to YouTube or go to Spotify, pull up a video so you can see this picture. It's pretty dang haunting. You can see over there in the doorway as what looks like a little kid in the corner
Yo.
who has a very close resemblance to one of Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s siblings that he murdered in that house. So, as far as I know, the house has been sold to 5 different families since then, and nobody has had any paranormal experiences, which is a good thing. So maybe it's not so much of a haunted house. Maybe there are spirits that just came and tormented this one family. I'm not exactly sure. But now's the time to kind of get into the controversy behind the whole story of the Amityville Horror House. Starting with the murders of Ronald DeFeo Jr., he said that these voices told him to kill his family. While that is probably true, we can be almost 100% certain that he did hear voices, but those are more of what's the word I'm looking for? Schizophrenia induced drug-induced, alcohol-induced voices. He had threatened to murder his family, his parents specifically, multiple times. Apparently, his younger sister, the oldest of the siblings, had also said that she was going to murder the family as well, at least the parents. And so this is something that had been brought up. The family was very well off money wise, and they were not a healthy family in the least. Apparently, the dad, Ronald DeFeo Sr., was very abusive, especially to his oldest son, but also to his wife. And so it was tragic all around. Ronald DeFeo Jr. was accused or was sentenced 6 life consecutive sentences for murdering his family. And every single time he tried to go for parole, he would say somebody else murdered his family or the demons made him do it. And it was always his story constantly changed. Do we actually think the demons made him kill his family? Probably not. Now, going to the Lutz family. The Lutz family did move into that house 13 months after the murders, and no family since then have experienced anything at all supernatural in that house. It has been theorized, specifically by Lorraine Warren, that a lot of this was probably induced because of who George was as a person, and that he was so obsessive about this house and all these things that were happening that he kind of antagonized these spirits, these things that would happen, or maybe they were drawn to him spiritually. I did watch this whole entire hour and a half long documentary about one of the kids. His name is Daniel, one of the sons. He's an adult now. He told his story, and he did verify a lot of what happened in the Amityville horror case. And he was saying that George, his stepdad, who he absolutely hated, he was very abusive, was abusive to his mom. He was a horrible father, horrible stepfather, and he was also very into the occult and very into Satanism. He had books on the supernatural, witchcraft, and even in this documentary, I'm watching this. I'm like, wow, he's verifying a lot of things that were in the book and in the movies and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah. And then I was out in the garage one night after we had moved to a different house, specifically in California. And I saw him talking to his friends, and he had telekinetic powers. And I saw him lift this wrench in the garage with his mind. And I'm like, oh, dang, this guy is crazy.
Yeah.
So he grew up with all of these kids at school like, did that stuff really happen? I saw that movie. And then him having to confirm or deny or whatever, that I think it broke his brain. The documentary is fascinating. It's called My Amityville Horror Case or something like that. It's on free on YouTube. Recommend it. So that's basically my story for the night. It is all very fascinating. Most haunted house, or the most famous haunted house story ever. I think there's 20 something Amityville horror movies and sequels out there, which is more than any franchise. And it's just because, anybody can go out and make an Amityville movie, I think. And there's even like an Amityville horror in space where the house like is in space. And that one just came out a couple of years ago. And of course, I haven't seen more than the first 2. And then the remake with Ryan Reynolds, which is horrifying. But anyway, crazy, fascinating story. Yeah, I did some research on this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys didn't get too spooked out there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It is spooky. The whole case, just everything. If you want to suspend disbelief and believe that he actually did get infested by demons, then that is pretty terrifying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say as well, just a couple other things to add in, not to try to deny anything that happened, because this is called Suspend Disbelief. We do like to entertain the idea that maybe this stuff did happen. But the Lutz family, I guess, George and Kathy Lutz, they had been on camera doing interviews so many times. And as much as they said that they wanted nothing out of it and they hated talking about it, they still did an unbelievable amount of interviews. I don't know if they made a lot of money from selling their story to the author of the book, which then had the rights to the movies, but they still made pretty good money off of that whole tale, and every time they did an interview and stuff like that. So who knows, maybe the story got a little more exaggerated over time from what it initially was. I personally believe that some stuff probably did happen, and I do believe that probably a lot of it was exaggerated and probably didn't really happen. I think both things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, that's just kind of the stuff that you see. And the unfortunate thing about it is, now that George and Kathy Lutz have passed and just their children are alive, that we'll probably never know what really happened. And if, Ed and Lorraine Warren coming to investigate or help in any way actually did anything. But yeah, pretty fascinating story. So thanks for listening, guys. All right, who's next? Okay. Have at it, brother.
With that being said, continue on with the Ed and Lorraine case. The new movie coming out, Conjuring Last Rites. It's based on the Smurl haunting in West Pittsburgh, or not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So the Smurl family moved in to their home in 1973. From 1973 to 1986, I believe it was. They were dealing with this entity in their house. Cold spots, foul odors, stains in the wall. Like even their dog got like thrown. Um, yeah. The father, Jack Smurl, he was actually like assaulted and sexually assaulted by this entity. Their daughters, I mean, they suffered this like attack by this entity too. They try like just ignoring it and like painting over like the stains on the wall, but the fresh coats would get the stain too through the wall. So I think something might have been in the wall or possessing the wall. Yeah. And so they tried like everything. They had like a priest come in and all these, because they were a Catholic family. And finally they called in Ed and Lorraine Warren. And when they got there, they brought their team with them and they were investigating. And as they're investigating, they're just like, they know it's like a powerful entity, because no matter what they're doing, it's like holding on. And like I said, this family, so the Smurl family, has been being afflicted by this for years, almost 13 years. Like nothing they did worked. And as I did some more research into this case, they were talking about how like even like with Ed and Lorraine there and their team getting there, like they couldn't get rid of the entity, and they finally had to move. And even after they moved, that they still kept getting afflicted by it. It finally did end up stopping like 2 years after that. But like they during this time, like they tried to move, but it kept following them. And they tried like staying in like a trailer park. They tried staying in hotels, and they kept just getting haunted. And I think it was attached to Jack Smurl, because he seemed to be the one that suffered the most.
Is he the father?
Yes,
or man of the household?
Man of the household. And but yeah, that's basically like this new Conjuring. I did some digging, and they're just like saying, the basics of it. They didn't really go into detail, and I couldn't really find too much about it online. So maybe like when this movie comes out, it shines more light on like what actually went into it.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm excited to see it.
I know, especially because what piqued my interest was the Warrens could not like
Couldn't
help
help them.
help them basically.
Makes you wonder what they ended up doing.
I know, and if it's gonna show that, or if it's gonna show like them.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
gonna save the day.
Yeah, so
Power of love is gonna prevail, or whatever it is.
So, but for 13 years,
Yeah, that's
Even after
Children.
moving, even after moving around and trying to like get away, just,
Wow, that poor dad.
and the whole family. The poor dog.
I do think entities are attracted to certain people though, and like the story you were telling, I think it makes a lot of sense that if the first dad was it George was abusive, I think it makes sense that the next dad coming in and also being abusive would have triggered that experience all over again, especially since they both had kids.
Yeah, and in the movies for the Amityville Horror, at least in the 2005 one with Ryan Reynolds, like he's crazy and tries to kill his whole family, and it's insane. That of course was not real, but I mean it's not too far off the truth. He did kind of go crazy, and everybody was absolutely horrified of him, and rightfully so. So, well, dang, that's pretty spooky. I'll have to do some more research on that and find out more about it. Let's
Come back to it after the movie comes out.
Yeah, we'll talk about the movie after it comes out.
But to me, it just sounds like a classic like infestation type, because with stuff in the walls, the odors, like foul stenching odors and shadowy figures haunting different rooms. Like, and it was verified by the family and the neighbors. Like the neighbors witnessed these things too. Like hearing the bangs,
Really?
the footsteps, everything in this household going on. Like they testified to it too. And I was like,
Dang. Holy cow. That's spooky stuff. What do you guys think about haunted houses and what could haunt them and supernatural haunted houses experiences and stuff like that? Like, do you guys think that it's just like one thing, like it's all demons, or do you think there's different types of hauntings, like poltergeists or anything like that?
I think I believe in it.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm a Christian. I believe it's demonic at the base level. This might be a hot take, but I don't think human spirits stay like here on Earth. I think because demons watch over us from basically birth, they know your name. If they know your name, then they might be able to
Like mimic people.
yeah mimic people. And make you believe that their spirit's still there, but it's not really them. And I've throughout like my life, I've been kind of like trying to figure that out. They can like mimic you. They can like say like a memory that only you might know. But as for like haunted houses, I believe it's real, but I feel like they're not as strong as they're portrayed to be.
Interesting.
I mean, personally, I have some differing beliefs on that. I think that some spirits are demonic, and I think some spirits are human spirits that got lost and are still figuring out their way here and on to wherever they're going next. I kind of gathered that just from my personal experiences. I've had a few, and I feel like I've come across demonic beings, and I feel like I've come across some spirits that just are almost harmless. They're just there, but they're there, like I've seen them. I didn't feel fear though. And yeah, I used to be a lot more sensitive to that stuff than I am now, because I think I grew up in a haunted house and it was built over in an area that had a graveyard and stuff. And there's a lot of kind of abusive things going on there. So I think that triggered a lot of what happened. There was one person there that definitely triggered a lot of the activity. And after they left, it slowed down a lot. It was just kind of traumatizing to deal with all that for me personally. So I kind of purposely desensitized myself to it so that I didn't have to deal with it anymore. And I think that works. I think when you desensitize yourself and are in denial of it, I think it's less likely to bother you.
So how I feel about it is I do think that people that leave us can leave an imprint, and that it may not necessarily be demonic, but I think that humans and everything actually just has energy, and it doesn't all just disappear when you're gone. And that sometimes a ghost can just be the the imprint of what somebody was in a house. It could just be, like all this energy was spent in this house for so long that, like, maybe this energy is still wandering around in some way, and maybe it's not demonic, maybe it is demonic. um Maybe if it was a very violent person with a lot of pent up energy, um, a lot of issues, then maybe you'll that imprint, that ghost, whatever might show resemblance of that as well. Um, I don't know the answer to it. I don't think it's all demonic. I do believe in ghosts, and I do think that ghosts can come in kind of all shapes and sizes. I will say that I will always be weary that it is a demon if I do experience something like that, just because I'm not trying to mess with anything in case it is demonic, that it gets attached to me or whatever. And, something we say in our culture is, so don't look back. Don't, if you feel something, you see something, or you feel something's watching you, then don't mind it any business, because if you start paying too much attention to it, maybe like George Lutz did, then maybe it's going to attach itself to you, and then it's not going to leave you alone. So I don't know. I say let things be, but I do believe in ghosts. I do believe in poltergeists, um, whatever that may be. And I do believe that houses can hold memories and can hold energies, and can also, be infested by demonic activity. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. My opinions may change tomorrow, but that's what they are tonight. So,
Same.
okay, cool. All right, Kate, you're up. What you got?
Okay, so I was just doing some research about the Warrens and who they were as people personally, and I'll just share a little bit of that background on them. So, Ed and Lorraine, they met as teenagers, actually. Lorraine had already accepted the fact about herself that she was a psychic, and Ed grew up believing he was in a haunted house that he grew up in. So he had a lot of interest in it, but like you said earlier, he wasn't psychic or clairvoyant himself. Um, Ed ended up serving in World War II, I think in the Navy. One thing Ed did after World War II is he went to art school. And when he and Lorraine started going to ghost hunt people's homes, Ed would like paint a picture of the home or the area, and then they would go into the house and introduce themselves and gift this painting to them. And that was like their way of getting into people's houses, that a lot of these people had no idea who the Warrens were when they were first starting out. And after they got into the house, Lorraine would sit down and use her psychic um, abilities to like analyze whatever was going on there. Um, so they were very much like storytellers, and they walked that line of entertaining people and the reality of whatever the situation was going on. So there's been a lot of people that have come up and debunked whatever they had to tell, and um, I think I don't know what to think about that, because I think like you told the story of how that kid grew up and told about his experience, and I think there's a lot to be said that some of it was real and some of it wasn't. Been things exposed about Ed since he's passed, about the fact that he wasn't really a great person. I personally really wanted to believe that everything they did was real. I watched the movies and I loved them, and
Yeah, same.
it's just really cool, you know. They seem like this.
Never meet your heroes.
I mean, yeah, they show him in a pretty good light in the movies.
Oh yeah, there's a reason for that. We'll talk about it.
Actually, Lorraine made them sign stuff to not talk about their marriage in a negative light, or to share that he was potentially abusive, because that came out. There was a story where Ed and Lorraine took in a 15-year-old named Judith Penny, and Ed met her at a bus stop, and she ended up moving in with them and living in a room across from theirs in their house. And allegedly, she and Ed had a sexual relationship for 40 years. And Lorraine knew about this, allegedly.
Man.
15. Yeah.
And he was, I think, 27, I think, when he met her.
Yeah.
And eventually they ended up moving her upstairs, and she lived up there, but Ed basically lived with them both. Like, they were,
Both his wives.
Yeah, both his wives. He would take turns. And Judith never came out and talked about this until after Ed died, and a lot of people have speculated that it seemed like she was still in love with him, and she didn't want
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, the Stockholm syndrome. She didn't want that bad light to be put on Ed while he was still alive.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, so Lorraine Warren, who signed their life rights to Warner Brothers for the Conjuring films and the whole Conjuring universe, yeah, she signed a contract with them to, of course, they can't paint them in a negative light at all. So anything, any scandals, anything like that cannot be in any of the movies, because why would you sign your life rights to a billion-dollar franchise for them just to make you look like horrible people, So I get that. And yeah, for Judith, they ended up giving her $150,000 for her life rights, really, which is just like, hush money.
Yeah.
And yeah, poor girl. And the whole thing is just so messed up. I think that Ed is really a bad guy, for sure. I am not trying to defend him at all. And if he, is where he should be now, then good. But maybe he still was good at his job. And maybe him and Lorraine did capture, the spirits of demons and keep people safe and help them help people exorcise these spirits out of their lives and stuff like that. I don't know, because their whole story is incredibly fascinating, and you want to believe that this occult museum that they developed, with like the Annabelle doll and all of these other haunted artifacts,
Still missing, I think.
No, they found it.
They found it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What they found? What?
Good.
The Annabelle doll.
It was missing for a while.
Yeah, like a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you want to believe that those things were taken off the streets and that people are safer because of it, but you never actually know. Anywho, yeah, both the Warrens have passed away now. So I say go enjoy the movies. They're not getting any money from it. It doesn't help them at all. It doesn't change their lives at all. As long as we actually know what really happened, then yeah, so be it. It is what it is. Cool.
Can I share a little bit of a hot take?
Sure, go ahead.
So, I think I do believe Lorraine had psychic abilities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And after the research I did, I'm kind of inclined to believe that Ed was a brilliant marketer and businessman, and he knew how to take Lorraine's gifts and like story build with that and make an empire out of it, really.
Yeah.
Judith also allegedly said that he was abusive to his wife, Lorraine. And so I'm inclined to think that, she was real, and Ed, and he learned how to utilize that, and they worked together. And I think Lorraine and Judith were both in love with Ed and helped him out.
Yikes. Not a handsome guy, by the way.
Go look
a
him
handsome
up.
guy at all.
They look very different than the actor
Patrick Wilson.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's all we got on the Warrens. I will say they did claim to have worked on over 10,000 cases, and that is just a blatant lie, because, I mean, if they worked on one case a day, it would have taken them like 27 or 29 years to work on 10,000 cases. So that's just one thing. I'm like, okay, come on, 10,000, really?
Mailed back some priests and called it call it a work day.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, take everything that they have ever said or done with a grain of salt, because you can never really believe something like that, especially when they didn't have really any evidence other than their own word for kind of everything. So yeah, they have a little museum, and it's got a bunch of haunted artifacts in it, and it has changed ownership over the years, and the current owner is Matt Rife, which is fascinating. I'm sure anybody who's listening probably knows this. So I'm really curious to see what he's gonna do with the museum, because he didn't just buy it just to board it up and sit on it. He's gonna do something with it.
I heard he's gonna make it Airbnb or
That'd be
something.
cool.
And want...
I'd stay there. Nah. You want to get into some listener stories?
Yeah, let's do that.
You're up.
Me?
Yep.
Are you good if I read it from my phone?
You could have read the whole thing from your phone. I don't care.
Dang, okay. So this story came from a friend of mine that follows my TikTok. I think she follows the Skull Crawlers too. She
Nice.
should, if she doesn't already. So I'm just gonna read what she sent me. All right, she said, I was at my grandma's at the time she needed help, and I was living there with her and my kids, and I was not doing okay, like sleep wise, I guess. That makes sense. And I would wake up and I'd feel something weird. I would hear something talking to me. It was always something different. I would hear voices. I would feel someone watching me, and it would always be at the same time, about 3:16 in the morning. Don't know why, and it went on about for a week. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to ignore it, right? And then one day, my brother's wife at the time takes my niece and nephew to speech therapy, and I swore I heard somebody say, hey. And when I got up to go look, because I thought I heard the door open, nobody was there. The car was gone already, and then my brother also heard somebody scream. And at that point, we were both hearing things, and I called his girlfriend, and I was just like, hey, did you come back into the house just now? She goes, no. We've been gone for about 10 minutes now. Well, later within the week, she hears a 14-year-old girl crying, approximately 14 years old, I guess. I'm like, I don't know how
do you know
exactly the age. It was like,
like a 14-year-old does.
Yeah. And it sounded like they needed help, so she called her dad. She called her stepmom too, because they've dealt with stuff like this before and she hasn't. They said you need to take some ashes from your medicine. Oh dear, I've lost my spot. Okay, from your medicine, and put them on the kids and on you, and then she knew to smudge too. She's native as well. And she said, I don't know how to get a spirit to go on, type of thing. And we ended up connecting with the spirit at the time. Like, I had no reason to feel suicidal, no reason to feel majorly depressed or anything like that. But in that moment, I was very, very suicidal, and it just came over me out of nowhere. And it came to find out the spirit connected with me because of that. She says she had depression her whole life, and she's dealt with that in the past, and that the spirit was in her grandmother's house. They believed it had come from somebody that had killed herself in the basement a long time ago. So she's smudging the house. Everything's fine for the most part. Everything didn't feel... Oh. I didn't feel anything. Sorry. There's a lot of rambling a little bit.
That's okay.
I'm like... They're smudging. They want the spirit to be leaving their home and say that the Creator and God is here with our family. And she goes down to the basement and has a breakdown because she felt so much pain and so much sadness just take over her body. She couldn't breathe at some points. Yeah, this girl, I know her personally. I will not be sharing her name because she wants to remain anonymous, but okay. The spirit here was hurting so bad, and I could hear her talking and screaming for help the whole time. I was praying, and honestly, it was the most chilling thing for me at the time because I felt that all before, and I haven't had that kind of pain and sadness in a long time. So it hit so hard. I'm still hearing this person screaming. My brother's hearing her scream for help, and he's like, "What are we gonna do?" So they keep praying and praying, and by the end of it, I guess it went away. They were so exhausted. She ended up sleeping for 2 days afterwards because it drained her of all her energy.
Oh
Yo.
my gosh.
So
Spooky. Cool. I have one. This is from my cousin, Nola. She says, whenever I was about 5 or 6 years old, back in 1988 or 1989, my grandmother lived at the Cody home place. Her name was Vernola Cody Wolf. Whenever you first enter the house, there's a bedroom to the left. That was my grandmother's bedroom. Her bed was against the wall and like right in front of the window. It was summertime and we had the windows open because we didn't have an AC in there. There was a screen on the window, and the window was at the foot of the bed. Well, me, my cousin Ramon, was laying with her, and we was laying right in front of the window, our heads at the foot of the bed, and she was laying the opposite way, the correct way, lol. Anyway, it was nighttime, pitch dark out there. We could hear something coming down the driveway. It sounded like something dragging because it was a long gravel driveway to get to the house. We told our Meemaw there's something outside. She listened and heard it too, and told us to be quiet and go to bed. Pray. Just close your eyes, don't look and pray. Here comes back to that saying again, don't look back. Mind your own business. Being little kids, we didn't listen. We closed our eyes, but it got closer, and we looked. I told her, there's something coming to the house. I seen a person walking, but he's little. I started crying, and so did Ramon. She got the sheet and she was using it to cover her up, and she threw it over us. Told us to pray and don't look. We got quiet, and me and Ramon both watched this little person, maybe 3 feet tall, stocky person, walk up to the porch, come straight to the window, peek in with his hands around, and as plain as day say, boo. Didn't yell, didn't raise his voice, didn't have any emotion. Then we turned around to walk off the then it turned around and walked off the porch and went to the side of the house. My grandma was praying out loud, got up and got my grandpa, and he went outside. Checked the place out, but he didn't see anything. He got cedar and went around the whole house outside and inside and prayed. But when he was outside, he was yelling and just like telling whatever we had seen to stay away. This house is covered by God. Don't come back. He has no business there. We never slept in front of that window ever again. I don't think I ever stayed a night there, but maybe one or two more times. I couldn't see facial features. I just seen hair, and it was really coarse looking, and it looked like a little chubby person dragging their feet, not walking like we do. I wish Ramon were still alive. We talked about this several times when he was alive, and we told our kids and told different friends we had together what happened to us. Some don't believe, but I know what we saw. I was not dreaming. I had my eyes clenched closed, but would peek, and you know how you close them, but you can still see a little? That's what we both did because we were both curious, of course. And I said, would you be okay if I read this on the podcast? She said, no, absolutely not. What? No, I'm just playing. She said, yes, I told my daughters about it last night. We got chills. We will never forget that night. It's a spooky one. Well, thanks for sharing your story, Nola. I appreciate it. And everybody, if you got stories, man, send them in. We love to hear about them. Any more listener stories you guys got by chance?
I might have one more.
Okay. Dig it up. Dig it up. Let's talk about it.
One of the Skullcrawler followers, and she DM'd the story. She also wants to remain anonymous. From the White Earth Indian reservation. She grew up hearing about the little people and never really put much stock into the beliefs. She said, I have always had strange things happen around me and strange dreams that would later come to make sense. So here's my story of the little people. I'd never before seen one, but my sister and my ex-boyfriend did one night years ago. My sister ended up becoming a drug addict and was in and out of treatment for years. One night, I stayed up with my parents to help look after my sister's kids while she was away in treatment again. I had a dream that a tribe of little people had come up a hill that leads from a lake that my parents live at. My dog was in the yard, and I kept yelling at him to get into the house. Some of the little people came up and were nice to the dog, and some were wild and aggressive, but not towards the dog. They started a ceremony in my parents' yard, and I watched on, but never interacted with them. The next morning, I told my parents about the dream, and my dad was intrigued, but my mom didn't think too much about it. I think it was the day after that, my sister called from treatment and was on the phone talking to my dad. After a bit, he told my sister to tell me what she had shared with him. She had had her naming ceremony while in treatment. She told me her name and what it meant, her colors, and that she's connected to thunder. When she told me that the person who named her said the spirit of I apologize if I say this wrong. I think we are different tribes, so Mimagwesi, the little people had brought her name to him. My jaw hit the floor when she told me that.
Yo.
Oh.
That's spooky.
I feel like a lot of Native families have that clairvoyance about each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, sweet. That's all I got for tonight. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for joining us on
Thank you.
Suspend Disbelief. We appreciate you guys so much. Go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram at Skullcrawlers, TikTok at Skullcrawlers, and give us a subscribe on YouTube. It goes a long way. We're like this close to being monetized, so all of that helps. Watch our videos when you sleep on repeat. No. And yeah, just I just appreciate you guys for checking us out. And if you're new to the channel, we appreciate you for giving us a listen. With all of that said, always sleep with one eye open because you never know who's watching. And thanks for wearing your brown pants.
R.I.P. Rest in peace to Graham Greene. Lost a real one.
Stick around for more spooky stories, book reviews.
Oh yeah,
and Cary's book that he's going to be working on.
And adventures.
Oh yeah.
That we're documenting.
We're thinking of doing some ghost hunting, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Good night, guys. Bye.